Hi there, Jeff here from the Wetsuit Centre, talking to you today about the Rip Curl Ebomb Pro 3.2 summer wetsuit for summer 2014. Very bright looking wetsuit you can see over here, and the Ebomb hasn't changed a huge amount in terms of features and in terms of the actual shape of the wetsuit, but the principal change is the quality of neoprene, moving from the E3 neoprene into the E4 neoprene with E4 plus action panels. Always love the names and the terms that they come up with at the wetsuit companies. E4 action panels. Okay, so basically here is the suit. This is the Gabriel Medina colours, which we're running with this year. Ebombs have always been about nice, colourful, bright summer wetsuits as well, and they do look really good. Personally, I've had an Ebomb for the last few summers. They fit really well, and they are just the most lightweight, flexible wetsuit that you can get. Basically, they are amazing to wear, and how comfortable they are and how flexible they are. Haven't tried the one with the E4 neoprene, but the previous suits have just been great. It doesn't feel like you're wearing a wetsuit, which is what you want from a summer wetsuit. So in terms of the actual shape of the wetsuit, it hasn't changed a great deal from last year. So you've got minimal panelling. Okay, so basically they drop the smooth skin on the front so that you can have one big panel of neoprene across the front here, maximising stretch and minimising restriction from any seams or any sort of panels that you might have in the suit. One thing that did come in, it might have been last year basically, but there's this clever little piece of neoprene that runs across the lumbar. Okay, and under the arms, that black piece there, that essentially is one piece of neoprene, which means that there's no seams running across there. So across your back and across the back of the arms, where you've got the most amount of movement, there's just no restriction, and that just stretches massively. Okay. There is another reason why that stretches so much, and that's because it's one of the action panels I talked about before. I'll come to that in a second. So across the back of the suit, again, minimal panelling. You've got no seam on the bum. Just basically promotes flexibility and comfort when you're wearing the suit, and fits your body shape basically. So it's all thought about with Rip Curl wetsuits, especially the Ebomb. Further down on the suit, just to mention the standard things that you do get a little key pocket, I believe, on the suit. So anyone that still is running with a, yep, there you go, running with a sort of non-electronic key, you can pop it into the suit. You also get the Duraflex knee pads, basic crypto pads, whatever they call them. Basically, it's a very robust material, pretty much used by most wetsuit manufacturers these days, and it just stops the suit wearing through on the knees. Because previously that was, a lot of people duck dive with their knee on a surfboard, or if you're learning to surf, or basically you spend a lot of time wearing through the knees, and that stops that happening. Okay, with the Ebomb, in terms of the weight of the wetsuit, it's 3.2, so 3mm on the lower part of the body, and then 2mm over the arms, around the neck, where you need the most amount of flexibility. Chest zip wetsuit, they do this in a back zip, but the chest zip is much more popular, and that's basically because gets rid of the need for a zip on the back of the wetsuit, and so you get that sort of like complete unrestricted movement through the back of the suit. Also, you get an unbroken seal around the neck, so it's less prone to flush throughs. Downside, makes it a little bit harder to get in and out of once you've got the hang of it, and with this wetsuit particularly, it stretches so much it's not hard to get on and off at all. Okay, the inside of the collar, you can see this sort of crazy pattern. That is a smooth material, basically, a smooth skin, single line material, just to stop any rubber rash, but also sticks to your neck, and again stops any kind of flushing through the collar of the wetsuit. So it's best basically to keep out the water out of the wetsuit. Now, with a suit of this sort of cost, you're talking sort of mid £200 in the UK, then a lot of people would expect what we call like the liquid taping, or the seamless technology, or the rubber taping on the outside of the suit. Rip Curl don't bother with that because, again, this suit is all about flexibility, ultimate flex, basically no restriction, and with that sort of rubber taping, although it's very good at making the suit more robust, keeping water out through the seams, it does restrict your movement somewhat. So they don't use that, they just go for the traditional glue and blind stitching, basically stitched through the outside of the wetsuit, halfway through, on the inside it's then glued. And I'll turn the suit inside out so you'll be able to see all the taping. But basically, in certain areas, critical areas, they use that E4 plus taping. And it's a very stretchy tape rather than the liquid taping, just to reinforce some of the seams so the suit doesn't pull apart in any particular place. But having said that, the Rip Curl warranty is probably one of the best on the market as well, and they do really do look after you. Okay, so chest zip, I'll show you how that works in a second, but the primary difference then between this year's Ebomb and last year's Ebomb Pro is basically the quality of neoprene. So this year they've gone for what we call the E4 neoprene. The E4 neoprene does come out a little bit lighter and a bit more flexible than the traditional sort of E3 neoprene, basically. So those lightweight properties means that it feels better in the water, it's less absorbent, and so it will dry quicker and take on less water. Okay, so in terms of going for a second surf, you should be getting back into a nice dry wetsuit. And in terms of how it feels in the water, it should feel lighter and maintain more flexibility throughout your surf. One thing they do with this suit as well, they use the E4 Plus neoprene in the action panels. Now basically, in any sort of black area you can see, which is under the arms and through the lumbar region here, they use this E4 Plus neoprene, which is basically, they make it more flexible by filling the neoprene with more air, which makes it really supple. And that runs the whole way through the lumbar, and I think you get it down by the side of the legs as well, just so you've got easier to get the suit on and off, and you've got more dynamic movement through the back of the knee. Okay, but that neoprene is, I think it's up to about 30% more stretchy than the standard E4 neoprene. And a lot of people ask why they don't just use that through the whole way through the wetsuit, basically the E4 Plus neoprene. And the reason they don't do that is because it hasn't got as much sort of memory within it. So if you wore a suit which was made purely from E4 Plus neoprene, it would bag out, it would stretch, and then eventually it wouldn't come back, and get baggy around your collar, around your back, and it wouldn't fit properly. It would basically blow out. So they can only use it strategically in certain parts of the wetsuit, like around the lumbar. Okay, so that is primarily the difference. The suit should feel even more lightweight and more flexible, and should dry quicker than the old Ebombs. They do feel fantastically light when you're wearing the wetsuit. The chest zip then, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, you've got a toggle on the side which basically allows you to tighten it up, so create a good seal around the shoulder, make sure no water comes through, and you can do that however tight it actually feels comfortable. The panel of neoprene goes up and over the head. It basically means that any water that comes in through the collar, rather than going to the suit, is met with the actual inside of the wetsuit here, which comes up nice and high, stops any water coming through, pushes it down through the front of the suit and out the drain holes here. Okay. Now, if I sort of reach inside the wetsuit, you see how sort of flexible it is and easy to turn inside and out. A lot of people, things that put people off about chest zips is basically how hard they are to get in and out of, but especially with the 3.2 and how flexible the Ebomb is, they're so sort of pliable and flexy that when you get the suit on, it shouldn't be too hard to get on and off and over your shoulders and back down again. It's really not too hard at all. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. So if we turn this suit inside out, you can see that blue neoprene is basically the E4 the whole way through, with the black panels being the E4 Plus, just to really sort of demonstrate the E4 taping on the inside of the suit. That orange stuff just reinforces the suit on the inside, make sure that no water gets through, and doesn't sort of restrict you in any way, shape or form. They use less of it around the arm, again, just a maximum flexibility through the arms. Okay, everything's thought about. You can see the sort of dip here in the chest panel as well. That's to give you four-way stretch properties, so it stretches down as well as up. So when you're bending your back, there's no restriction there. So everything's thought about with the Ebomb, as you should expect about a suit this cost, but always has a really good following every year for people that are looking for nice-looking, really flexible wetsuits. And obviously with the E4 neoprene being used in this year's suit, it should be even more so. So definitely a recommendation for people that don't like wearing wetsuits.